Hello, hello, hello. Michelle Hill with Slingshot Designs, and today I am just here to talk a little bit, share a little bit of my day. It's been a pretty wild week. I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's been just packed. Every single day is packed with ridiculous amounts of challenge and opportunity. I say that a lot, but I'm never really that specific with what it is, largely because I don't want to jinx my own life, or like my own luck right now. But the truth is that it's really, I don't know how much of it's about luck and how much of it's about faith or fate, right? So I kind of reject the notion of luck. I believe that it's about self-mastery, and that's what you have control over, right? So I really focus on that, and this week has been a great example of that. So things did not go the way that I thought they would, and that shows a lot about my ego. and really, that's at the end of the day, that's what that boils down to. I expected that things were going to go a certain way, and I was really pumped up about it, and I really knew, like, hey, I knew it in my gut. This is the way it's going to go. I'm going to get this opportunity. And I had a number of interviews this week, and they I'm kind of in this weird spot because I'm a business owner and job seeker at the same time. I had a bootstrap startup that I just frankly ran out of funds, and it sucks because I know how many people I can help, and I know that it doesn't really take much to get going, except that you got to start somewhere, right? And at the end of the day, we got to pay our mortgages. We got bills to pay. We got things to do, So I was like, okay, well, I'll find someone to join up with, and I miss being a part of a team. Like, I really, really miss being a part of a team. So I've been, kind of going through this start and stop mentality for a while, and just decided, no, this is what needs to be done, and I need to make it happen. So I did 4 interviews this week, 4 more next week, and I don't know how to put this. None of them went the way I expected them to. The ones I thought I would be very disappointed with, I was actually pretty like, oh, well, maybe this would be a good fit for me. It took me a second to stop and think about it, because the truth is, I'm not alone in this situation, that no matter what I'm doing, I'm not going to be doing what I was before. Or will I, right? I don't really know. And I think everybody else is or not everyone, but a lot of other people are in that same position now, to where kind of thought you were going to do this for your entire life or your profession, and now you're going, the world doesn't look like it used to, so I'm not so sure that that's going to be the answer for me, right? Like, maybe that's not going to be the case. So we're kind of forced to reevaluate, and the biggest obstacle when you're reevaluating what your life is going to look like is yourself. It's your own beliefs about what you think your life is supposed to look like. And a lot of that is influenced by external people in our lives. And it could just be, well, not could be, a lot of times it's our own support system that has their expectations and beliefs for how things are supposed to go. And those are the 2 most damaging problems in anybody's situation when they're trying to make a change like that. If there is nothing more damaging than not having faith in yourself. The only thing that comes close is that the people that are closest to you, that you rely on for support, not to have faith in you too. If those 2 things happen, man, that's a really tough place to be in. I've been there. I know how it feels. And I know how hard it is to get out of that situation. So just keep it in mind and keep moving forward, right? And I know you're probably sick of hearing that, but a little bit on the moving forward part. If you're moving forward and you don't really know what that looks like or what that means, it's okay. Like, change up your game. Moving forward doesn't mean keep doing the same thing. Think about fishing. I've been fishing since I could walk, and I don't go all the time. I'm not a hardcore fisher person by any stretch, but it is something that is deep in my soul. My grandfather taught me how to fish, and it's always been a huge part of who I am. So you'll see a lot of times me wearing hooks. I wear like a lot of fisherman hooks and stuff, and that comes from my grandfather. that's a tribute to him. So I think in terms of fishing often, and this is a really good time to use that analogy, that when you're fishing, you choose a spot and you choose a bait, right? And if you don't have luck with that spot and that bait, you switch it up. You change either the space or the place where you're at, or you change the bait. You try for you try for whatever happens to be biting that day. And it's a day by day thing. There's as much of an art as there is a science to fishing. These times are no different in terms of job seeking or business startup. It's no different. So what I'm finding is that I'm having more success in coaching and finding people out there that I resonate with than I am finding employers out there that I resonate with. And I am far from alone in that one either. So I encourage you to find the bravery inside of yourself and choose to step outside of your comfort zone and force it, because it's not easy. It isn't easy for anybody, but it can be done for everybody. So start somewhere. Tag me in your post if you do, and I will help you by cheering you on, like a chick holding a billboard at the end of a relay or a marathon. I will be that person cheerleading for you, because I know how hard it is to decide that you have a voice and that you're going to share that voice. That is not something that comes naturally to everybody, and it most certainly did not come natural to me. But the more that I've done it, the more reward I find in it, both internally and externally, that I find success, my dog, I find success every single day by sharing who I am, how I got here, what I've learned along the way, and what I'm doing to better my situation and the situation of others. Now that resonates with an awful lot of people, and as a data-driven person, and I come from a life of KPIs and metrics, so I look at all of that data. I look at every like I get, who it came from. I research their profile. This brings me closer to my target audience. Okay, from a marketing standpoint, but I'm not a marketing person. I'm a coach, right? So and a consultant, and so when I look at that, I try to define my target, my ideal client, right? Who is my ideal client? And I figure that out by who am I resonating with. My ideal client in my heart is not necessarily the same thing as the ideal client on paper. And what really matters at the end of the day is a combination of both, right? And as long as I'm motivated and pumped up and passionate about helping other people, I don't care. I don't care where somebody comes from. I don't care what their story is. In fact, the more diverse, the more I'm interested, because I've had that innate curiosity my entire life. I trace it back to the first grade, literally. Like I had a first grade nun that despised me because I asked so many questions. I am very much a curious person. So the more that I see the diversity in the people that I resonate with, the more that leads me towards who my ideal client is, which, yeah, it's a diverse mix, but for me specifically, it comes down to people who are looking to blend creative and professional in their lives. Like, so I resonate very strongly with people with a technical background who are looking to add creativity and passion to what it is that they do. Because in a technical background for an employer, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, that's stifled. The creativity is stifled, which is a shame, and it's tragic. But I've been on both teams. I've been on teams where it is applauded and rewarded. And in those teams, I was in the top 1% of everything I did. But I've been in many other teams where it is absolutely stifled, and I was told to stay in my lane, and I was told a lot of things I was not accustomed to hearing, because that's what made me great. So all of a sudden I found myself in places where I couldn't use that anymore. and I wasn't willing to let it go. I wasn't willing to focus on one small piece of my talent set, right? My skill set, and let the rest of that go away, because I had trained far too long to accumulate that many tools, right? So I wasn't willing to let them go. So that's ultimately why I ended up leaving. Leaving and going out on my own. It's a much longer story than that, but certainly that's probably the best shortened version I can come up with. But that storyline is incredibly common, and given the current situation of our globe and our economy, it's a very important and relevant storyline, because there's an awful lot of people right now that find themselves unemployed with fewer options than they expected, and things that have always traditionally been what made them unique and a force to be reckoned with, what made them so good and edgy in what they did, are now being used against them. Like, you can't get through an ATS system, or you can't get or you can't seem to get in front of the right person, right? You can't find that fit for you right now. So for a lot of people, a lot of people I talk to are considering going out on their own. And I don't, it's not my choice to make for you, right? Like, that's something you have to make on your own. But I can certainly share my journey with you, and certainly arm you with an arsenal of tools on how to make that decision that's best for you, given your specific situation. And I also am become extremely good at what I call, I actually started a personal brand. This was before I understood what a personal brand was, but this was my first attempt at that last summer, and it was called Synergisticology. And it really is kind of what the name implies it is, right? It's the study of pulling everything together and making the whole larger than the sum of its parts. It was an internal process and an external process. It was a matter of doing that inventory that, you know, all job seekers updating a resume are forced to do. It was a matter of doing the internal resume or internal inventory, but not just for transferable professional skills, right? I do it with holistic skills. I even hire people everyone I hired was always, I hired holistic talent. I did not hire to match a job description. I never have. I much rather want somebody who's coachable than somebody who checks every box, right? Somebody who's going to inject creativity rather than somebody who's going to come in and, you know, clock in, clock out. It's who I am. So I expect to build teams that way too, right? But not everyone's like that. So if you are like that, you're probably, you might be having a hard time getting through some systems right now and getting through a standardizing process. It's not meant for people, not meant for everybody, right? So if you find yourself in that position and you're considering going out on your own, or if you have a job and you're finding yourself kind of like dead ending and burnt out, those are reasons to reach out to me, right? And I'll help you get to where you need to go. But the lessons that I've learned along the way, man, you can't beat it. I mean, I'll say on paper, this last year has been the worst year of my life. Do I look like the person who's having the worst year of their life? Because I'll tell you, I've never felt this much start to, like, beginning of the day to end of the day, passion, fire, and love for every minute of my day. I mean, I got some pretty rough news a few times in the last month. I've gotten some earth-shattering news, not good. And don't think for a second that I don't want to sugarcoat this. Of course, it still impacts me. Of course, I still feel it. Of course, I still feel the pain from tough news and tragic news. But I don't any longer carry it with me everywhere I go. It doesn't infiltrate and penetrate into the nooks and crannies of the rest of my day. Because I know what I've found that is the antidote to that feeling is passion and purpose. And I know that what I do matters. I know that my clients have better lives because of me. And I even struggle to say that because I don't want to say it's just because of me. It's not. It's because of the culmination of because I've used the culmination of my life to extract the experience and figure out how that seeks to help build others up. That's a pretty profound purpose, right? So the mission of Slingshot Designs, by the way, is I seek to empower a great many people. And I do that through education, collaboration, and innovation. So what's so fun about all this is that I draw my clients right on into this, and anybody, it doesn't have to be a client, anybody I meet on LinkedIn or anybody I meet in general, I connect them with all the other people in my network that I'm like, yep, you need to meet you, you need to meet you. So that's one of my favorite things, like passions, like hobbies, right? I love connecting people and then seeing where that takes them. So you can start to see that this has got some residual and cascading benefits to it, right? So I have no desire or intention of ever stopping Slingshot. It really won't. I can get a job making, 6 figures again, and I'm still not going to stop. It won't matter. It is literally my blood, sweat, and tears poured into this. And what I did for the better part of a year was deconstruct and reconstruct myself. That's why my company's name is Slingshot Designs, because I design lives. Like I help you design your life. I designed my own by really deconstructing everything, taking a look at how it was meant to be put together without the labels, without the expectations, without the external pressures of society and everything. Who was I created to be? And where did all of these choices that I had made in my life, how did the wrongs impact me? How did the rights impact me? It was a ridiculous amount of work, and really going into complex problem solving, which is my background, because that should have been a sign, right? But who specializes in complex problem solving? I do. But professionally, having done, for those of you who are in the automotive world and you know what an 8D is, I've done thousands of 8Ds. I've taught 8D classes. And so I grabbed onto the 8D model because it's obviously a standardized form and a proven tool when it's not pencil whipped. And I took it very seriously, and I did hundreds of 8Ds on my own life. On myself, and practicing tremendous amounts of objectivity, really went above and beyond to see what my life looked like in all of these pieces. It looked like I would have taken apart a radio, right? For those of you who used to enjoy taking apart radios like I did. I kind of took the whole thing apart, looked at it on a table, and went, yeah, I didn't put that there. That didn't come with it. Like, when did that get there? Cleaned out the waste. I removed the waste. I value stream mapped my life. Again, I'm going to stick with some continuous improvement tools here because a lot of you guys know them. I attract continuous improvement experts like crazy, so for good reason. And so I took value stream mapped my life. I 5S'd it, but actually 5S'd it, not like kind of in theory, for each major problem that I had, each failed relationship that should be better, right? Each area that my life was unsatisfied, I 5S'd it. I removed the waste and I put it back together the way it was supposed to be. And it was excruciating work. I did all of this, by the way, while the whole world seemed to be crumbling around me. And it was pretty intense, not just for me, for everybody else involved, and my whole family was there for this. But it was the hardest phase of my life, but by far the most rewarding. So to walk out of that, I didn't intend on doing this, right? But I did it anyway. And to come out of all of that with the knowledge and the lessons learned, again, with the AD, to come out of it with the knowledge and the lessons learned then it was a matter of what do you do with that? Again, in corporate America, in manufacturing world, that's what it's the step that's unfortunately most often missed, right? Management review, going over the lessons learned, how seriously do you take it? I take it very seriously, obviously. and and I went and I extracted the lessons learned and then reconstructed essentially Shelley 2.0, right? Or Michelle 2.0. So to be fair, it's probably a little higher of a rev than that. But my point being, this time it was by design, and I I couldn't be happier. Like every day, I feel pumped and motivated and ready to go. So I don't know if I don't know if you've ever felt that way, um, but if you're anything like how I used to feel before and a lot of times during this, I yearned for days gone by. I yearned for, like, I grabbed onto something and held onto it so tightly because, well, for a number of different reasons, and they're all different. But I would hold on to things so tightly because I was afraid to lose them. And I was afraid that my tomorrow wouldn't be better than my yesterday. And like the thought that the best of the days had gone by. And I know without question I'm not alone in this because it's what half of the amazing songs in the world are about, right? This is what the best lyrics are talking about. And that's why music is so important. Right now, I think if you're feeling the pressure of, finances given, I don't know, cut yourself a break. There is a pandemic going around. There are global crises in every other direction. And yes, you really have little to no control over much of anything. If people are pressuring you, this is another thing I want to say. I'm speaking to people who are feeling pressure right now. Focus on what you can control. And one of those areas is that when your own home is on fire, do not feel obligated to go help the neighbor whose home is on fire. Your job and your duty is to extinguish the flames around you first. This is secure your own face mask before assisting others, right? So keep that in mind when you're feeling pressured to take part in this movement or take part in that movement. I'm not saying polarize, but there is nothing wrong with saying human to human, dude, I can't. You need to learn to say no, and be able to focus on what's on you because if you're feeling that way, then you need to spend your energy fixing your problems, getting that in order, getting that aligned so that you're not distracted with it constantly. You're no help to other people or other people's causes, or campaigns or problems or any of that. Like if you don't have your own situation under control. I hope that resonates with you because it's extremely important that you cut yourself a break and understand, listen, just because you're not alone doesn't mean it isn't incredibly freaking hard. All right. Doesn't mean that when people say you're not alone, so many times I would get so angry with them and be like, I'm nothing but alone. Like no one understands what's going on. And there is truth to that. Like I really was isolated. So, and certainly now I'm not, I guess one other thing I'll share because it's probably relevant, and hopefully some of you will be able to say you're in the same or similar situation, but I'm not quarantined anymore, but I still go out, or I go out now, but that's fairly recent, and there's reasons for that. It's not so much it's not about me, it's about a loved one, right? That we really have to be careful. So we've had to be extra cautious. In fact, that really led me to remote and virtual work. So that's helped guide and forge my path. That doesn't really make it more challenging. In fact, there's some elements of that are very helpful because I don't have to look at I don't have to look as big of a landscape. It helps focus and narrow down the scope of what I need to keep doing as far, and now I can diversify and say, you know, if I'm only looking at online, then I can look at I can look at either the business or the or a career again, or not a career, but employment. I can look at both at the same time. I can build both at the same time. And the best way that I'm doing that is by speaking to, so as a transformational coach, obviously there's not a whole lot of job seeking happening right now, or career, there's a lot of career changing. There's not a lot of job seeking that's happening that isn't transformational, right? Pretty much everybody is going through some sort of a transformation on this planet, certainly in corporations as well as in homes. So it's really been nice to be forced to focus on that. And so don't fight the current. If there is a current that's taking you somewhere, understand that this is the time to work with that and swim with the current. You'll get there a lot faster. All right, so hopefully that advice speaks to some of you as well. I'm going to continue to share advice because you continue to reach out to me and let me know that it matters. So as long as I keep hearing from you that it matters, I'm going to keep sharing it. And it's been really, my God, has it been amazing connecting with you guys. I can't believe how many awesome people are out there and that are kind of just now getting into LinkedIn and just now starting to see that there's more to LinkedIn than posting your resume and looking for jobs. It's not Indeed, right? I mean, there is a network. There's certainly the training side of LinkedIn. There's so many experts that are out there willing to share their advice that I don't need to keep giving the job seeking advice as far as what to do with your resume, right? I'm more going to work on helping you create your personal brand. Again, I'm not a lifelong expert on this, but there's not a whole lot of lifelong experts on it anyway. But I'll help get you going, connect you with the experts in my life that have helped me. And I've been doing this significantly longer than the average person right now, just because that's where I happen to be at the time. And that's puts me in a pretty cool perspective right now. So, and a valuable one at that. So what I really specialize though is helping you tell your story in a way that's value stream mapped. It's all about the value that you offer. And one of my favorite things about, I've done resumes for people for decades, and obviously that whole industry's changed. But going through that, it doesn't matter whether it's to get through an ATS or whether it's to get, you know, some of the resumes I've had were written on napkins, right? So what's been one of my coolest, the reason I enjoy doing it so much has nothing to do with, you know, a couple $100 for a piece of paper. It has everything to do with watching my clients' faces when they realize what it is that they do, what it is that they're good at. That is like the coolest thing, because what you think you're good at is not, oftentimes that's based off of what you've been told in the past. When you have somebody like me who's a talent development expert, and I sit there and watch, I've just, from all the teams I've ever managed, man, that's what always made me stand out. And it took a lot for that to sink into me. Literally, like, I didn't believe that about myself until I started reading my letters of recommendation and went, dude, people don't get letters like this, you know, and just that would make me cry. I couldn't believe the impact I had made in people's lives. I didn't realize that I was just trying to survive, you know, and just trying to do my job. But it's just how I treated people. And that's that Maya Angelou quote that it's about how you make people feel. And that was a pretty powerful realization for me. And I went, why am I shying away from this? If this is what I'm good at, then this is what I need to be doing. And that's a lot of what kind of redirected me to switch. So I enjoy doing the same thing for others. I enjoy watching, observing what other people do, and going, you know, there's a bit of a disconnect here between what you say you're great at and what you demonstrate you're great at, or or in resumes saying like, hey, this is, you say this because that's what your job description said, but that's not your only achievement, that's not your only accomplishment. And really diving into more, well, tell me, you know, it was kind of like, well, tell me more about that. And having people get pumped up and start to realize like, oh my goodness, you're right. I really have done all this. And I'll never forget one of my favorite client stories was somebody who was angry about the idea of even having to do his resume. And that's a normal feeling. It really is. Nobody wants to have to be in that position. And this was actually for a promotion, but it was more about the idea of, why do I need a piece of paper to get me a job, right? I mean, and that's what I love about people that thrive on human to human. Why do I need this formal document, right? I get it, I do. I'm a very human connection oriented person too, so I understand that. But I'm also somebody who's built those systems, so I understand that side of it too. So I kind of walk through, neutralize all that, and then we keep going on with the conversation, and it just starts off with being frustrated and just straight up angry, you know, like it's a vicious tiger. And the more that we worked at it, before I know it, he's smiling and laughing like, hey, Michelle, guess what? I did this too. And I'm like, yes, this is what we're going for here. This is what we do. You know, this is how it works. And just to have seen his career take off since, it's such a blessing to be a part of that process. That's why I do what I do. But what I enjoy the most is helping other people figure out why they do what they do and what they want to be doing with all that, right? That's why I'm so drawn to coaching, and I enjoy it so much. So anyway, this wasn't a pitch on my coaching, but it's more motivational. I'm trying, my goal here is to get you motivated about maybe get you thinking a different mindset right now. If a different mindset is good for you, then it would be beneficial for you, then it's time to adopt that, right? And there's ways to go about doing that as well. One of the best ones that works for me is to put on music. Take whatever music you want, I don't care. Some tricks for me, a lot of times, like if I am feeling nostalgic, then I'll put on, you know, my favorite music from when I was a kid. If I'm feeling like, you know, I need creativity, or, you know, like pick your music like you're going on a date with the best version of you. And what would you play, right? Imagine yourself as the most glamorous version of yourself that you've never met. Like your idealized, self-actualized, glorified, you know, like this magnificent you. What music would you play for you? How would you serenade you? You know, like, and play that for yourself. That's self-love, people. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing to be ashamed about. It's just tricks to get you, like, people talk about mindset, but what does that mean? Like, how does that apply to me right now in this situation? And it starts to come to fruition through tips and tricks. So that kind of fake it till you make it, but it's more like build it one brick at a time. On that note, if you haven't seen the Will Smith video about his interview where he's talking about building with his dad, building the brick wall, please Google it and watch it, because that will help you as well, right? Or that helps me as well anyway. So anyway, I'll keep sharing tips and tricks. I'll keep sharing, you know, kind of stories and things that are relevant, things that seem to help. And all I ask for you is that you let me know what you like, what you don't. Well, if you don't like it and it's not constructive to help me build, then I don't necessarily need to hear that. But if you want to, then go for it. I'm a big girl, I can handle it. But generally, just let me know that it matters to you. Or if you have a request, let me know that too. Like, if you want to talk more, that would be great as well. I just am going to keep sharing until you tell me not to, I guess, or until there's crickets. But in the meantime, I'm starting to lose my voice here, so I'm going to wrap up. But this is Michelle Hill with Slingshot Designs, and I help people connect their roots and wings. In the meantime, please There we go. In the meantime, please take care of yourselves and your neighbors. Have a great weekend, everybody. Remember to enjoy the weekend and the weather. All right, bye.